Hmm. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. You may know the name, but you don't know the game. As today, to celebrate 50 subs, I'll be doing a tier list ranking of the Infinity Saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Before we begin, of course, I have to give a couple shout outs. First of all, thank you, each and every one of you, for getting me to 50 subs. I appreciate you a lot. I appreciate the lot of you. And I like half of you as well as you deserve. That was a screw up of the quote, but I was trying to do Bilbo's line from his party in The Lord of the Rings. And secondly, I have to give a shout out to my style on YouTube for creating the thumbnail. Thank you so much. But yes. Oh, I'm so excited to do this because I know for a fact I'm going to piss some people off, but I'm very excited to do so. So, where else should we begin? But of course, at the beginning with Iron Man. I'm gonna pull up. Already buffering. Okay. So I wanted to make sure everything was in place. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I hate the dead silence. I'm so used to like games being played or audio being played. I would try to play some music so there's nothing but just so there isn't just spats of silence. But I don't know how to play without getting copywritten, and I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that right now. I'm only at 50 subs. But yes, the first Iron Man. We all know where it's going. S tier. You know it's good. I know it's good. Everyone knows it's good. It's S tier. It's the first Iron Man movie. It's good. I don't need to explain why it's good because you know it's good, assuming you've actually seen it. In which case, why have you not seen it? Next up, though, The Incredible Hulk. First hot take. This is the best film in the Infinity Saga. Hot take. This is the best film in the Infinity Saga. Fight me. For starters, this is the best the Hulk has been in live action. I love the 70s show with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. I have not seen Ang Lee's Hulk yet. I plan to. But it gets everything right about what you'd want in a Hulk movie. It deals with the tragedy of the Hulk character, the tragic nature of Hulk as a character, but it has the kind of bombastic act you'd want from a giant green muscular man. And CGI, I think looks fantastic. Definitely looks leagues better than She-Hulk. But to get into more specifics, the cast does a fantastic job, especially Ed Norton. He plays Bruce spectacularly. Liv Tyler, I'm so used to her as Arwen from the Lord of the Rings films, but watching The Incredible Hulk, I could never saw. That's Arwen from Lord of the Rings. I just saw Betty Ross. I didn't see Liv Tyler. I saw Betty Ross, and the chemistry between Bruce and Betty in the film is amazing. Excuse me. Tim Roth, fantastic as. Oh God, I forgot his name. Emil Blonsky. That's concerning. Seriously, why do I need to burp so much? Fantastic as Emil Blonsky. William Hurt, fantastic as Thunderbolt Ross. But I want to give special points to this film for the use of Hulk at the beginning, because it feels like the opening of the film, you never see Hulk at all in the opening, like in that factory with the, I don't remember what country he was in, but it feels like a horror movie, and the movie is very tense too. Like it is. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's scary, but it is heart pounding. Like when the Hulk is on screen, there's part of me was like, yes, let's go, we're gonna see Hulk. But at the same time, I was kind of scared because, oh god, the Hulk's loose, and the movie makes you scared of the Hulk. Not in like, you're not like gonna be. It's not like watching Alien or Predator, where it's like imminent threat, you need to defeat this, but you're worried about what the Hulk's gonna do. But there's one thing that this movie actually got me to cry. And some people, in a modern day movie, it would be used as nostalgia pandering and nothing more. But in this film, it's used exponentially. It's used perfectly. The score plays "The Lonely Man" by Joe Higgins from. I probably got the composer's name wrong. I'm gonna check that just to be safe. Joe Harnell, sorry. I don't know where Higgins came from. Joe Harnell, sorry. The Lonely Man by Joe Harnell from the 70s Hulk series. Ugh, seriously. It plays that track. But the emotion felt is not played as a, hey, you recognize this track? Remember the track? Remember the 70s Hulk show? It's used to invoke the emotion that the track is meant to convey, which is the tragedy of Bruce's character. Like, even this poster here, Hulk dwarfs Banner. It's he's the lonely man. I'm not the good of. I definitely need to get better at being able to talk. Like if I'm gonna do video essays, I need to get better at speaking. But that moment when it started playing, I started crying because it's just a beautiful scene. If you've seen the movie and you're familiar with the 70s show, you'll know the scene I'm talking about. I wish I could play it, but I don't want to get, again, so many things I would love to show, but I can't because of stupid copyright laws. But, yeah. S tier. Iron Man 2. This movie has a lot of missed potential, which is unfortunate because it could have been good. Like, from what I've heard, Whiplash's best scenes were cut from the movie, and overall, the idea of Tony being a drunkard because he's dying isn't used that well. But still, it's enjoyable. To me, it was enjoyable, but it's definitely not as good as the first one. I'm going to put it in B tier. The first Thor movie. S tier. I'm sorry, this movie is aside from his brief appearance in Infinity War, this is the best the Thor character has been, because it treats the mythos like a mythology with the gravitas and grandeur that a character like this must have, and Kenneth Branagh executes that perfectly. Just from watching his adaptation of Shakespeare's Hamlet, he knows how to do grandiose and gravitas. And this movie, I wouldn't say it's the same. It has the same kind of grandiose nature as Branagh's Hamlet adaptation, but it's huge for a fish out of water movie. When you're in Asgard, it feels it's like looking at Minas Tirith from the Lord of the Rings films. And I'm gonna say right now, I love the chemistry between Portman and Hemsworth. It's great. I would prefer if Jane Foster was a paramedic like she is in the comics, but her being a scientist and that campfire scene where Thor is explaining his world to Jane, it is expository, but it's cute. It's adorable because you can tell it may be expository, it may be exposition, but Thor and Jane are so passionate about what they're talking about that you can buy into, that you can look past the fact that it's exposition, because like right now, like me talking, like talking about this, like nerding out over these movies, having a conversation back and forth between two nerds it's fun. You enjoy it, and you, if you're, especially if you're like your partner is just as much into nerd culture as you are, and you can go for hours on end talking about various different topics. You can jump from talking about a psychotic killer in a bunny suit to talking about the morality of the Transformers and within 2 hours, and it's fun. It's nice. It's fun to do that. And then that campfire scene is basically that, but with science and magic and all that. And the casting, again, is perfect. If I could give one critique to this film, it would be I get that Loki's the god of mischief, but they don't utilize that enough. That's probably my biggest critique, is the lack of the Loki is the god of mischief, but he doesn't act mischievous that much. Welcome to the stream, Slick! But still, fantastic film. Captain America, the First Avenger. I'm gonna say it, this is the best Captain America film. What the hell? Okay. This is the best Captain America film. I'd say so far. I'd say it's a W tier list so far, Slick. Other people say Civil War or The Winter Soldier is the best Captain America film. And while those, okay, from an objective standpoint, Civil War is good, but I'll get into the subjective nature of my most recent viewing when I get to Civil War. And then Winter Soldier is good on all fronts, but I enjoy this film more because of its tone. It feels like 1940s war propaganda. From what I've seen of it, this film, it feels like it's just a 1940s war propaganda film, just with just with modern filming techniques, especially that second act where Cap is fighting alongside the Howling Commandos, and that montage of him taking down Hydra agents. That feels just like that's straight up copying war propaganda. That is a straight copy of war propaganda, but I love it. And I'm gonna say it now. This is the best Captain America suit in the entire MCU. The casting is perfect across the board. Hugo Weaving always bringing in his A game. Though it is a shame that Bucky does die in the way he does when you compare it to the comics, and especially how it's like he should not have been able to survive that fall, but he somehow did. But still. But also, like, the origin of Captain America is an inspiring one. Just fantastic film. Next up, Marvel's The Avengers. This is not as good as everyone said it was. I'm going to say Loki is not as good of a villain in Avengers as he was in Thor. The Whedon knows how to handle ensemble casts, and his film's proof of that. But it's just, for me, it's not as good as everyone said it was. My biggest complaint is the Hulk. Mark Ruffalo is not a good Hulk. I'm just going to say right now, he is not a good Hulk. And I wouldn't say he drags down the film, but it is underwhelming. Like, when he transforms into the Hulk on the helicarrier, I felt nothing. Like, I could tell the filmmakers wanted me to feel uneasy at best and scared at worst, but it's nowhere near as dread-inducing as Hulk's transformations in The Incredible Hulk were. But still, I'm going to put it in B tier. Iron Man 3. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Slick. Ed Norton is better than Ruffalo. This film is weird. The comedy is awful. I don't have a problem with the twist itself. I don't have a problem with the twist of Ben Kingsley not being the Mandarin and instead just being an actor. And then Guy Pearce's character, Killian, just shouting, "I am the Mandarin," just makes me laugh, because obviously he's not. I don't mind the twist itself, just in this film alone. But after the release of Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, the twist kind of does upset me, because then we did get the Mandarin later, and it's after Tony died. And of course, you have the ending where Tony destroys all of his suits, but then in the next film, he's back to being normal Iron Man again. So this is going to get a C tier. Come on. Thor: The Dark World. This movie is nowhere near as bad as everyone says it is. It's nowhere near as bad. Malekith is just a weak villain, especially compared to his comic counterpart. But still, you still feel Asgard still feels grandiose, even though this film's director isn't Kenneth Branagh. Frick, I wonder if I can't read that. Lixian zoom. Where's the zoom button? Nope. Alan Taylor. Is that directed by? Nope. I keep doing that. It's wrong. Yes, directed by Alan Taylor. Alan Taylor still does an amazing job making this mythological character feel mythological. Again, we still don't see Loki acting like a god of mischief, just knife. He's just the god of knives. The twist at the end, though, with him pretending to be Odin at the end, that was good. Thor and Jane continue to have an amazing chemistry. And overall, it's just a fun movie. I'm going to put it in... yeah, A tier. Next up, The Winter Soldier, S tier. Obviously, it's a fantastic movie. You don't need me to explain why it's not a bad movie. I don't need to explain why this movie is good. You know why it's good. Um, Slick says I didn't hate it. Kind of slow start for me though. Not a bad start to the movie. God of Knives somehow. Yeah, you know why? You know why? Winter Soldier is good though. But Age of Ultron, however, I'm gonna say it. This is the best Avengers movie. The cast continues to bounce well off each other. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are nice additions to the cast, and James Spader's Ultron is an amazing villain. Granted, he's not comic accurate is not comic accurate at all, but given that they had what their plans were for Ant-Man, I don't mind the change. And in fact, I think it actually makes him scarier because of Tony Stark's character. Having that basically be an evil Iron Man, if you will, I think that's much scarier than the, I guess, quote unquote, cold and calculating Hank Pym. Not to say Ultron isn't a threatening villain in the comics, he still is, but I think this rendition is equally as threatening. And James Spader's vocal performance is outstanding. James Spader is an incredible actor. Granted, the only things I've seen him in were that Stargate movie from the 90s, which it's not that good of a movie, but it does start one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. But there was that, and then the only other thing is when he is Raymond Reddington in The Blacklist, and he is fantastic in The Blacklist. I love The Blacklist just because of James Spader's character. But here it's just, I feel more dread with him than I do with Thanos. Age is such a W movie. Honestly, I like it more than Endgame. Yes, it's so good. I will say the comedy does get it does frustrate me again that they keep underutilizing the Hulk. I'm gonna put it in an A tier. It's not S tier because there are some things that hold it back, but still, it's a fantastic movie. Next up, Ant-Man. It is frustrating that we didn't get to see Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, but the movie we got instead it's decent. It's an enjoyable film. I would have preferred Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, but giving us Scott Lang right out the gate, I don't have an issue with. Plus Paul Rudd, he plays Paul Rudd, but still it works. And then Yellow Jacket. Plus, when Cap fakes not being able to lift up Thor's hammer, I actually don't think that's the case. Because we know after the events of Winter Soldier, him and Falcon basically go on an investigation to find out what's happened to Bucky throughout the past years. And he finds out that Bucky killed Tony's parents. And in Civil War, his Cap says he knew that Bucky killed Tony's parents, but he didn't tell Tony. So the quote-unquote lie of omission is still a lie thing, which I don't agree with, because he's not telling a lie. He's just omitting it. But because one of the things to be worthy of Mjolnir is pure honesty, Cap almost was worthy to pick up Mjolnir, which is why it nudged slightly, but he couldn't pick it up fully. But after Tony found out, Cap became completely honest and completely worthy of Mjolnir. But as far as Ant-Man goes, I don't mind Yellow Jacket as a villain. I know it does frustrate me that that they changed Yellow Jacket completely, but on its own, I don't mind him as a villain in this film. This is going to be a B tier. Captain America Civil War. Oh my god. This movie pissed me off when I last watched it. Oh my god. I almost was. If I had an F tier here, I almost wanted to put this in F tier. That's how much I hated this movie. There's so many things that just irk me so much. For starters, in the original comic, the thing that causes the Accords to get put in place is a group of teenage heroes get all cocky and try to take down a villain that is literally a nuclear bomb. And he sets himself off, killing a bunch of people because of these cocky teenagers who want to try and be superheroes. In this movie, the thing that causes the Sokovia Accords to get put in place to be submitted is specifically 12 Wakandans dying in a hospital because of Crossbones exploding himself. The other people in the hospital, they don't matter. The news specifically says it's the 12 Wakandans that get the Accords in motion. That already frustrates me because again, what about the other people in the hospital? Do they not matter? Of course not. It's just the Wakandans that matter. It's just... I'll get to that later when we cover Black Panther. But the person who submits the Accords to the Avengers is none other than Thunderbolt Ross, the man responsible for the destruction of Harlem, because he was responsible for creating the Abomination. And the destruction would have been far worse had the Hulk not been there. So he has no leg to stand on when it comes to the Avengers. How did he even become a senator? He should have been court-martialed. But then you have Tony refusing to listen to Cap because... No, it doesn't matter if people are willing to sacrifice are willing to let their rights be violated for the sake of quote-unquote security. Even if it means taking away the rights of other people. Which already goes against everything not only Captain America stands for, but everything the U.S. stood for when it was founded. But Tony's refusal to listen to Cap during the airport battle is so frustrating because not just Tony's, but everyone in that fight. He literally says, "Hey, there's a bunker with people like Bucky that if this bad guy finds, it could be the end of the world." And nobody listens. Nobody pays attention to the fact that, hey, we found this guy who was supposed to interrogate Bucky dead in his hotel room, and some other guy took his place. And there we go, right there. Another thing I don't like about this movie. Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I do not like Holland's Spider-Man at all. In this movie, he was decent. Then you have the final fight between Cap, Bucky, and Tony. I'm sorry. But the whole thing, Zemo literally says to their faces, "My goal is to divide the Avengers from within." So, you'd think someone this, and he says it before Tony looks at the monitor and sees Bucky kill his parents. You'd think Tony, who's the you'd think Tony and Cap would both be like, "What? You're trying to divide us? Okay, no. Repulsor blast. Kill this man." But Spider-Man is a whole nother thing. Him making the Empire Strikes Back reference bothers me so much. I don't have a problem with the reference in of itself. It bothers me that Spider-Man says it. Spider-Man is supposed to be a nerd. And him coming with the idea to use the webs as a way to cause Giant Man to fall over. He would have thought of that using science alone, not a movie reference. There's a bigger issue with Holland Spider-Man that frustrates me so much. But as far as Slick has said, this might be an L take here, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man appearing in this movie is the reason why it got so much attention, and no one admits it. Like, if Spider-Man wasn't in this and they just fought each other, I feel like it wouldn't have done as well. Wouldn't have done as well. It reminds me of Industry Spider-Man, like Parker Industry Spider-Man. And I don't know about that. Spider-Man being here probably helped a lot, but I still think this movie would have done immensely well, whether Spider-Man was in it or not. But it does bug me because of how they've adapted Spider-Man. But all those things really frustrated me. And there were some things where talking with a friend, like that's part of the point, so it gets a C tier for me. It's still so frustrating to watch, but now that I understand why, part of why so frustrating, it's not worthy of the lowest tier. Next up, Doctor Strange. Ooh boy, Doctor Strange. Not that bad of a movie. It could be better, and if you compare it to the animated film that came out in the late 2000s, there's a league of difference. We're not given a reason to care about really given a reason to care about Strange. Like, he has the same cocky attitude as Tony does, but when he gets his hands ruined, he treats everyone like crap, and you're supposed to care for this guy. So the CGI is just like it's just watching Inception's dream building on crack. And then the way the weapons are made, I just couldn't help but picture like the way lantern constructs are made. Because it doesn't feel like magic. I feel like I'm looking at Green Lantern constructs, just orange and with runes in it. Whereas with most other depictions of Strange's magic, it literally him creating something out of nothing. But another thing that bugs me is Dormammu's design. It's literally just Thanos' chin across the entire face. And it's a mixed bag. C tier. Whoa, I forgot a movie. Hang on. How did I forget this? Where is it? I don't know how to. I don't know how to do this. I need to go back to my email because I forgot an image apparently. I don't know how I did, but frick. Hmm. Screw it. Technology making lives easier, my ass. Next up, I forgot to do this one. You know it's S tier, so do I. But speaking of Guardians, Guardians 2. Bloody hell. Also S tier. Next up, this fucking thing. Based on the fact that the only suit Holland has made is the onesie, as Tony calls it, and not the more traditional looking Spider-Man suit in between Tony hiring him and the Stark Enhanced suit, as it's called. It bugs me so much because it feels like Holland recently became Uncle Ben died only a few months ago at most. But he does not act. It does not feel like Uncle Ben was his father figure at all. He specifically says in Civil War, when you can do the things that I can do, and then the bad things happen. And then in here he says everything May's been through. I'm like, I'm sorry, what, May? I thought Ben was your father figure. Which really bugs me because the whole reason he becomes Spider-Man is because of of Uncle Ben's death. But Holland Spider-Man, Uncle Ben's death does not face him at all. And the idea of Stark being a mentor figure, nah, I could do without that because Tony is not the best man to be being a father figure at this point in time. Vulture was good, but that's probably it. Everything about this film just annoyed me. C tier. Taika Waititi, go fuck yourself. This movie is awful. D tier. Absolutely awful. Come in. Ah. Also, I have some choice words to say.
Are you cold? Yeah, I know. What do you see?
Give me a brief moment. This movie, this freaking movie, I don't know what people were talking about, but this movie is awful. It takes Thor, who's been mostly stoic character with hints of comedy, and turns him into a complete joke. It takes one of Marvel's best comic book storylines in Planet Hulk, and butchers it spectacularly. None of the characters are taken seriously. And the one good scene in this movie is at the end when Thor is talking with Odin during his fight with Hela, and then he calls out that lightning bolt onto Hela, and he starts flying towards the Rainbow Bridge, towards the Bifrost. But then the Immigrant Song kicks in and the whole moment's ruined, because the Immigrant Song is not a good fight song at all. Like, the only thing... It tries to copy Guardians in the way James Gunn chooses music to fit the moment. Like, at the end of Guardians 2, the song that's playing at the end talks about a father and his son, and it's playing during Yondu's funeral, so it makes sense. But here, the only correlation between the Immigrant Song and Thor Ragnarok is the fact that the Asgardians become immigrants. That's it. But it also wastes Clancy Brown and wastes Surtur the Fire Demon for a joke. Everything is the butt of a joke. It is so frustrating. So, D tier it goes. Next up, Black Panther. Also D tier. Because, again, this movie is not deserving of Best Picture. This movie is not deserving of any award. The only reason it got the award is because of the quote-unquote significance for the black community. And I'm like, right, because oh god, the whole movie's plot is based on the idea of critical race theory, which automatically should set off red flags, because the idea of critical race theory is that if you are a white person, you are a racist by default, just because you're a white man. Killmonger is not a sympathetic villain. His plan is to arm other black people throughout the world so they can overthrow their governments. That is not something to be praised. I'm not an advocate for government, and I'm not an advocate for tyrannical government, but the idea is not to put people in office so that they'll fight for the people like government's supposed to do. It's supposed to serve the people, not enslave the people. But killing the people in office is not the way to go. And it's not just to black people who are in oppressive countries. It's to black people everywhere, even in countries like the U.S., where around the time this film came out, actually, no, never mind. I'm sorry, I got my history mixed up. It's just so bad. And T'Challa, he was amazing in Saga. Everyone treats him like crap because he's a white man. Shuri literally calls him a colonizer. I'm like, yeah, sure. Treat the guy who's been hiding the fact that Wakanda who's going to be hiding the fact that Wakanda exists the way it does. Let's treat the guy who's hiding the fact that Wakanda is as prosperous as it is. Let's treat the guy who's hiding that from the rest of the world like shit. Yeah, let's give him a reason to reveal your truth to the world. Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic idea. And it was a sign of things to come with how political messaging was going to be the focus of the MCU and not character-driven stories. Next up, bloody hell, Avengers Infinity War. B tier. Again, all the characters bounce off of each other really well, and it does a good job of it. The balancing of the two different plots, basically, it's really good. The Russo brothers do a good job of balancing the characters. But the one thing that I think drags it is the attempt at making Thanos a sympathetic character. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, we learned that Gamora is the last of her people. But in Infinity War, Thanos says that the people on Gamora's former homeworld are thriving because of his mass genocide of that planet. He calls it a paradise. But which one do you think is right? The Nova Corps file or the mad, as in insane, Titan Thanos? So, you have this literal madman whose goal is to save the universe by committing genocide because, according to him, there isn't enough food to feed the universe. But then they try to get me to care for this character because, oh no, he has to kill the woman he loves like a daughter. I'm sorry, but this man has a twisted form of love, and he turns Gamora and Nebula into killing machines. He essentially groomed them, and I'm like, are you trying to get me to care for this psychotic person? No! You will not get any sympathy from me. You madman. Next up, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Another fun movie. Not as good as the first one, but it's not that bad. It's stupid. It's a stupid movie that I can laugh and enjoy. B tier. Come on. Captain Marvel. This movie does nothing. It's a nothing burger. It's just a feminist propaganda bullshit movie. That's all it is. It does screw up the world building of the MCU, but again, that's what happens when you try to. That's the case with most woke, agenda-led movies. They don't care about the continuity. This is C tier. Avengers Endgame is D tier. This movie is god awful, and I'm going to link a video as to why that is in the chat. Because, oh my god. This movie is baffling. It has great scenes in isolation, but when you compare, but the story it tells is awful. It's ugh. The time travel mechanics make no sense at all, and no thought was put into actually making it make sense, because we gotta milk that nostalgia cow. We gotta milk it dead. And this is blah, blah. C tier for Far From Home. Aside from Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as Mysterio, which fantastic reinterpretation of the Mysterio character, fantastic job. Other than that, this film's bad. It's just bad. Ugh. God, it's sad. Like, it started off really good and then it just dips in quality by the end of it. But there's my tier list. Dear Lord, that was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. And I really hate the fact that I'm going to have to private this because stupid emails. There is my tier list. So again, thank you all for 50 subs. Here's to many more. Oh boy. I know I'm gonna when I share this, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but fight me. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to that notification bell. Keep updated with all my future streams and other future projects.